seems very cruel," Helen agreed. "He wasn't really fit to go back, but the board passed him because they were so short of officers and he kept worrying them. He was so afraid he'd get moved to another battalion. Then he was taken prisoner in that horrible Pervais affair, and sent to the worst camp in Germany. Since then, of course, Phillipa and I have had a wretched time worrying." "Major Halstead is Lady Cranston's only brother, is he not?" Griffiths inquired. "And my only fiancé," she replied, with a little grimace. "However, don't let us talk about our troubles any more," she continued with an effort at a lighter tone. "You'll find some cigarettes on that table, Mr. Harrison. I can't think where Nora is. I expect she has persuaded someone to take her out trophy hunting to Dutchman's Common." "The road all the way is like a circus," the young soldier observed, "and there isn't a thing to be seen when you get there. The naval airmen were all over the place at daybreak, and Captain Griffiths wasn't far behind them. You didn't leave much for the sightseers, sir," he concluded, turning to his neighbour. "As commandant of the place," Captain Griffiths replied, "I naturally had to have the common searched. With the exception of the observation car, however, I think that I am betraying no confidence in telling you that we discovered nothing of interest." "Do you suppose that the Zeppelin was in difficulties, as she was flying so low?" Helen inquired. "It is a perfectly reasonable hypothesis," the Commandant assented. "Two patrol boats were sent out early this morning in search of her. An old man whom I saw at Woburn declares that she passed like a long black cloud just over his head, and that he was almost deafened by the noise of the engines. Personally, I cannot believe that they would come down so low unless she was in some trouble." The door of the comfortable library in which they were seated was suddenly thrown open. An exceedingly alert-looking young lady, very much befreckled, and as yet unemancipated from the long plaits of the schoolroom, came in like a whirlwind. In her hand she carried a man's Homburg hat, which she waved aloft in triumph. "Come in, Arthur," she shouted to a young subaltern who was hovering in the background. "Look what I've got, Helen. A trophy. Just look, Mr. Harrison and Captain Griffiths. I found it in a bush not 20 yards from where the observation car came down." Helen turned the hat around in amused bewilderment. "But, my dear child," she exclaimed, "this is nothing but an ordinary hat. People who travel in Zeppelins don't wear things like that. How do you do, Mr. Somerfield?" she added, smiling at the young man who had followed Nora into the room. "Don't they?" the latter retorted, with an air of superior knowledge. "Just look here." She turned down the lining and showed it to them. "What do you make of that?" she asked triumphantly. Helen gazed at the gold-printed letters a little incredulously. "Read it out," Nora insisted. Helen obeyed. "Schmidt, Berlin, Unter den Linden, 127." "That sounds German," she admitted. "It's a trophy all right," Nora declared. "One of the crew, probably the commander, must have come on board in a hurry and changed into uniform after they had started." "It is my painful duty, Miss Nora," Harrison announced solemnly, "to inform you on behalf of Captain Griffiths that all articles of whatsoever description found in the vicinity of Dutchman's Common, which might possibly have belonged to any one in the Zeppelin, must be sent at once to the War Office." "Rubbish!" Nora scoffed. "The War Office aren't going to have my hat." "Duty," the young man began. "You can go back to the depot and do your duty then, Mr. Harrison," Nora interrupted. "But you're not going to have my hat. I'd throw it into the fire sooner than give it up." "Military regulations must be obeyed, Miss Nora," Captain Griffiths ventured thoughtfully. "Nothing so important as hats," Harrison put in. "You see, they fit somebody." The girl's gesture was irreverent but convincing. "I'd listen to anything Captain Griffiths had to say," she declared, "but you boys who are learning to be soldiers are simply eaten up with conceit. There's nothing in your textbook about hats. If you're going to make yourself disagreeable about this, I shall simply ignore the regiment." The two young men fell into attitudes of mock dismay. Nora took a chocolate from the box. "Be merciful, Miss Nora," Harrison pleaded tearfully. "Don't break the regiment up altogether," Somerfield begged, with a little catch in his voice. "All very well for you two to be funny," Nora went on, revisiting the chocolate box. "But you've heard about the Seaforths coming, haven't you?